Hello everyone. In today's video, we will talk about the great German literary genius Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. He is famous for such masterpieces as The Sorrows of Young Werther and Faust, but today we will go beyond his literary achievements and delve deeper into a little-known side of Goethe. Let's get to know some surprising facts and the other side of his life and rediscover his great personality. Number 1. An amazing side of Goethe the scientist. The first thing I would like to focus on is Goethe's side as a scientist. Most people know him as a poet and playwright, but he also had a profound influence on the field of science. In particular, his work on color theory caused a great deal of controversy in the scientific community at the time. Goethe challenged the color theory proposed by Newton. Newton argued that light passing through a prism creates a rainbow-like spectrum, but Goethe did not accept this. He believed that color is produced by the interaction of light and darkness, and insisted that human senses and psychology play a major role in the perception of color. His theory of color did not receive much attention at the time, but today it is being re-evaluated in the fields of art, design, and psychology. Goethe's passion for color was the result of a combination of his artistic sensibility and scientific inquisitiveness. He believed that color was not merely a physical phenomenon, but had a deeper meaning. For example, he described blue as the depths of the human soul, and associated red with the intensity of emotion. These ideas are in keeping with the depths of human emotion that he depicted in his poetry and literature. Number 2. Darkness of mind and conflict. The next topic we will discuss is Goethe's inner conflict and darkness of mind. His masterpiece, Faust, which depicts the conflict between the desire for knowledge and the soul, was strongly influenced by his own life experiences. The young Goethe was extremely sensitive, and the intensity of his emotions is strongly reflected in his literature. In particular, The Sorrows of Young Werther, based on his own romantic experiences and the tragic side of a friend, caused a sensation throughout Europe at the time. The work was even banned in some countries because of its content, which reminded readers of suicide. In fact, it is said that Goethe himself once contemplated suicide. He faced deep loss and loneliness in his life and tried to heal himself through literature. His diaries and letters vividly depict his inner anguish and show how personal his literary works are. The characters in his works often reflect his own inner life, each symbolizing a different aspect of humanity. Dr. Faust, the protagonist of Faust, is obsessed with the desire for knowledge and pursues it further by selling his soul, which could be interpreted as an expression of Goethe's own thirst for knowledge and the internal conflict that accompanies it. Goethe's life was one of constant self-exploration and self-denial. He was not only a poet, but also a scientist, politician, philosopher, and religious seeker. Behind his success in so many fields was the complexity of his own inner life and its inner darkness. Number 3. Goethe and mysticism. The next topic I will discuss is the relationship between Goethe and mysticism. While Goethe was a rational scientist, he was also strongly attracted to the mystical side. He found the divine order in nature and explored the mysteries of life. In particular, Goethe was interested in the concept of plants, protoplants. This was thought to be the common ancestor of all plants and the key to plant evolution. He based his research on this concept on plant morphology and explored in depth the process of plant growth. Goethe was also interested in the mystical ideas of the time, such as alchemy and astrology. He also pondered the relationship between the harmony of the universe and human destiny, which he expressed in his literary works. For example, in Faust, elements of alchemy and magic appear, and the relationship between the human soul and the universe is a theme. For Goethe, mysticism was not opposed to science, but rather complementary. He sought to understand the mysteries of the world from a mystical perspective, which rational thought alone could not elucidate. His ideas influenced the later Romantic movement, which led to a new perspective on the relationship between nature and humankind. Number 4. Influence on society and politics. As a literary figure, Goethe was deeply involved not only in his personal inner world, but also in society and politics. As an administrator of the Duchy of Weimar, he was involved in the formulation of cultural policy, and his influence extended beyond the region. In the Duchy of Weimar, Goethe contributed to the development of the theater and its status as a center of art and culture. He also devoted himself to educational reform, stressing the importance of striking a balance between science and the humanities. The educational philosophy he advocated influenced not only Germany at the time, but also later educational systems. On the political front, Goethe also had a unique perspective. He lived through the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars and took a cautious approach to these events. In particular, his meeting with Napoleon is famous, and Goethe was reportedly greatly moved when Napoleon told him that he was a fan of Werther. Goethe's political thought was somewhere between liberalism and conservatism. He was critical of radical revolutions, but also respectful of human freedom and rights. This sense of balance is evident in his literary work, which is portrayed through characters who struggle between ideals and reality. Goethe also had a keen interest in the fields of economics and law, and he deeply reflected on the elements necessary for the development of a nation. His experiences as an administrator also influenced his literature, providing a realistic perspective in his portrayal of the state and the state of society. Number 5. Goethe and music. Music also played an important role in Goethe's life. He was deeply interested in music as well as poetry and literature, and interacted with many composers. In fact, his poems were set to music by many composers of the time. One of the most famous examples is The Magic King, by Franz Schubert. This piece was composed based on Goethe's poem and is one of the most highly regarded of his works. Goethe's poems often stood out for their musical rhythms and prosody, making them perfect material for composers. Goethe himself, however, had mixed feelings about his poems being expressed in music. While he recognized the power of music, he was concerned that when his poems were turned into music, they would lose the power of their own words. He believed that poetry was an independent art form and valued the resonance of the words themselves. Goethe also enjoyed music himself and is said to have played the piano and flute. He had a music room in his house where he often enjoyed music with his friends. Music was part of his creative process and an important means for him to find peace of mind. Number 6. Goethe and love. Finally, let us talk about Goethe's love life. His love life was very varied and had a great influence on his works. In particular, his first major love affair made a deep impression on him as a young man. Goethe fell in love with a woman named Charlotte Book in 1772. She became the model for Lot, the heroine of The Sorrows of Young Werther. Goethe's life was filled with many love affairs that followed. He was extremely attractive to women and was adored by many of them. Of particular note is his relationship with a woman named Christiane Vulpius. She was Goethe's partner for many years and remained supportive until his last days. They married and had a child together, but after Christiane's Goethe was deeply saddened. Goethe's love affair continued to have a profound influence on his literary work. His poems and novels reflect the joys and pains of love so strongly that his emotions are conveyed to us through these works. For him, love was one of the most important themes in his life, and it lives on forever through his works. Goethe's life and achievements are truly multifaceted and cannot be summed up in a single word. He was a poet, a scientist, a philosopher, and a statesman. In all of these aspects, he excelled and had a profound impact on future generations. When we read Goethe's works, we are privy to his inner conflicts, his questions about the world, and the truths he pursued. His literature is more than just stories. It is a profound exploration of the nature of human existence. We hope that today's video will help you gain a new understanding of Goethe the man and rediscover his achievements. Please take a moment to reflect on his multifaceted talents and his influence. If you like this video, please subscribe and like our channel. See you in the next video.